Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Bernard. Also, just to add, and I'm really pleased to meet everyone virtually. Just to add that I am currently at APHRC as a Senior Business Development Officer, and I support uh, uh, a unit that is called Health and Wellbeing, Theme. Thank you. So this presentation is going to be about grant writing for early career researchers. And specifically, there could be more that we can talk about with regards to that, but we will be focusing on grant resubmission strategies. From where you sit, resubmission should basically mean that you're submitting it again or for the second time. Because submission is the first times when you submit something for the first time. So resubmission strategy is where we are focusing on reviewing and resubmitting a proposal or a grant proposal that you had submitted before to a donor. So I'll start by quickly going through the table of contents. So the first thing that we'll do will be to provide context. We'll also try to understand the review ecosystem of grant applications. Then we will look at how do you strategize your resubmission. We will also look at how do you improve your proposal for resubmission. We will also look at some practical tools and takeaways, and we will look at the final tips. Now, I need to get something out of the way, as I've suggested, that when you are resubmitting, you are basically submitting again a document or a grant proposal that you have submitted before, which means it's been rejected in the first round of application, and you're reviewing it to resubmit again. But I think it's in terms of setting the context, it's really important to mention that the reviews are not really comprehensive. So you will get reviews of your grant application, but one thing to keep in mind is that it's not comprehensive. Maybe they have just picked, the reviewers have just picked a few areas that they want to look at and give you feedback on. Also, it's important to understand that reviewers are only human. They are like you and me. You are an expert in the field you're in. And when you review a document, you're giving the feedback as a human. So reviewers are just like us, only that they are, have that ability and they are in that position where they've been tasked with the responsibility of reviewing grant applications. Sometimes a poor program or panel fit will lead to a poor review of a good proposal. And I guess what we're saying here is you could write a very, very good proposal that even your peers will tell you this is an excellent proposal. But when you submit it and it goes for review, then it will not score good marks because of maybe a panel fit. Because of a panel fit, it will not get you good marks. Also, it's important to know that no two reviewers agree on everything. There's no time reviewers will agree. This reviewer will tell you this reviewer will tell you, will give you different feedback. And reviewers will always find flaws in your grant applications. But what you need to avoid is the fatal flaws. You know, the kind of flaws that they look at and they just discard the application because it cannot even go to the next level of review. Not all reviewer comments are created equal. I think that comes from the fact that reviewers are human and reviewers also don't agree on everything. So even the comments that you will get from the reviewers will not be the same. you will realize that some proposals will receive worse reviews on resubmission. So you've received your comments on your grant application, you've revised and you've addressed the reviewer comments. When you take it when you resubmit it, it gets even worse reviews. So these are things that we have to keep in mind. But more importantly is if you do resubmissions enough times, sometimes you will receive a resubmission review that is in direct conflict with the original review. That also ties in with the point I've just talked about. And lastly, addressing reviewer comments does not guarantee anything. So you will address the comments, you will resubmit. It doesn't mean you will be funded. Still, you might not your research may still not get funded. So it does not guarantee anything that you've reviewed and resubmitted. In terms of introduction, introduction, I have a graph here that it is from the NIH data book. It talks about research project grants, applications, awards, and success rate. Now you need to look at the long blue lines. Those are the applications. Then the short blue lines, those are the awards. Then the success rate, you can see how the success rate is moving in terms of the red color. It is important to see also this graph. I thought it would be important to have this. Looking at an analysis of 2020 to 2024, number of R01 submitted applications to NIH, the numbers that were awarded equate the success rate that you can see. So imagine 36,250 applications submitted, they only award 7,700. That's 21% success rate. However, we need to keep in mind that this success rate does not translate to the actual number of organizations or projects that receive funding. This is just the ones that are reviewed, reviewed and scored positively. So it's also important to note this presentation that I'm making is based on NIH guidelines, and I did not want to use any other donor because I think NIH would have given us more to learn from. So most proposals, what we call the A0, are rejected. These are the new proposals, the renewed applications. So you already have funding, but then you're asked to submit for renewal or reviewed applications. Those ones, when you submit them, they are new applications and they are tagged A0. So sometimes, most of them are rejected, which means they're not selected for funding. Actually, up to 80% of the time. But you'll be surprised that NIH fund 5 to 10% of scored and selected applications. So you see the 20% that you're seeing as success rates are grant applications that have been selected for funding. But that does not mean this is the number that will get funding. The number that will eventually get funding is actually 5 to 10%, because they also have to weigh all other options, their priorities, and select. And this now will be the role of program officers in this donor agency to select out of the 20% of applications that they've been given, which ones will they support. NIH data shows that resubmitted applications, so resubmitted applications are called A1s. They are called A1s. When you resubmit, it is designated A1. So they have a significantly higher success rate than first submissions. For example, in 2022, while A0 applications were 19.2, A1 applications resubmissions were actually 32.6. So this tells you that it is really, really important to be able to resubmit your application if you get rejected or if it gets rejected. So should your A1 go unfunded? I think I also need to mention this. A1, we've agreed that A1 are the resubmitted applications. So should this one also go unfunded, you can still resubmit it as a new application, maybe a year or two later. Sometimes they call it virtual A2. So it means you submitted A0, you resubmitted A1, still not funded, you can still resubmit that another time. I want to speak quickly about why sometimes grants can be rejected, and why grants can get rejected sometimes is when your application has poor fit with a funding call. And this could be issues, misalignment with regards to funders' priorities, their scope, or evaluation criteria, which eventually means that your application will get low scores. Also, if it is unclear or unfocused, it has unclear or unfocused research aims. So you'll realize most of the times your research aims do not align with your hypothesis or other or different components of your application. So this also is a very serious reason why a grant may be rejected. Insufficient preliminary data or rationale. Most of the time, you will find yourself in a situation where you need to respond to a grant and submit, but you do not have preliminary data. And that is a reason why your research grant may not be funded. Of ambitious or unrealistic scope. Sometimes you've presented a grant, and when they review it based on the budget and scope, then they realize these people cannot do all this work with this amount of money. So, or these people cannot do all this work in this geographical space with this amount of money. Then they say your application is overambitious. Sometimes applications are rejected because they have weak methodology or a poor study design. Sometimes it's inadequate team or missing expertise. Maybe you've listed the PI, the co-investigators, but when they review the whole application and they review the team that you've put together as the PI and co-investigators, then they realize that there is a missing expertise. And they will definitely in their review tell you, add somebody with this expertise. Also, sometimes it's poorly written or hard to follow proposals. Sometimes poorly written proposals make it very difficult for the reviewers to follow. And when they cannot follow, they will struggle and eventually they will give low marks. So those are some of the reasons why a grant may get rejected. But also, I think when we are thinking about grant resubmissions, one of the things that we need to agree on is that rejection when you submit an application is very common. It is part of your academic life, and it is part of a researcher's career or research career. Rejection is also an opportunity for you to learn from your mistakes. Resubmission in and of itself is a vital skill because it will strengthen your research eventually. We need to also understand the reviewers who review your applications, your grant applications, are actually collaborators. They are on the same side as you. They are volunteers who dedicate a lot of their time to review grant applications because they're interested also in seeing how the field that they are in can also grow. So they are very enthusiastic in their review process, and they're not an opposition to you. They are on your side, and what they offer you is actually valuable feedback that can help you to strengthen your application and resubmit. It is really important to adopt a growth mindset because with that, you can improve and resubmit your application with confidence and purpose, but also think about who else can help you. If you are the PI or a co-investigator, look who else can you bring on board to help you with the review process, so that your application is definitely stronger than what you submitted at first. But what you need to know is that grant proposal rejection does not mean that your ideas, science, or you as a researcher is no good. It definitely means that maybe there's just a small issue with your application that if you tweak or address, then your application may be granted funding. So let me just mention also that grant writing or resubmission skill is very important to any person who is starting out in their career as researchers, because I think it is important for you to grow as a researcher. You need to secure funding. You need to secure funding to start your research career and have projects that you're working on. This skill is also important because then it can build your scientific reputation and track record. Right now, there are people who are in their 40s or 30s or 50s who have a track record because of the reputation that they have built based on the research that they have done. And the research they have done, they did not just sit somewhere for somebody to bring them money. They actually sourced, wrote grant applications and got funding to do those research activities. Having this skill is also critical as it deepens your understanding of peer review and scientific communication. Most of the time, when you can read reviews from the reviewers, when you get feedback from the reviewers and you read it and internalize it, then you can begin to deepen. When a reviewer says this, what do they actually mean? So you have to read in between the lines and try as much as possible to understand what they mean, how are they communicating, and that. Also, it's a skill that can boost career progression and academic competitiveness. Really, without without having the skill to source for funding, I think your career as a researcher can get stuck. It also cultivates resilience and strategic thinking. So I think it was important to also mention that. But let me also quickly go to how the review process actually works so that we are on the same page. So initially, when it starts from when you submit an application. So you submit an application through, maybe if it is NIH, their platform, they will do an initial check for completeness and eligibility. So this is where they look at administrative things, whether you've completed the application the way they expect. If not, they will put it aside. Or if you're missing some documents, they'll put it aside. The other part is administrative review. At this point, the funder has a team that screens all applications for technical requirements. So technical requirements is where you've filled all the necessary technical components of the application. So if it is incomplete or it is non-compliant, then definitely it is going to be rejected without review. Then the third step is assignment to a review panel. So when your proposal has everything, then it's assigned to a review panel, a scientific review panel or even a study section, based on their subject matter. There's usually two review levels of reviews, but some donors have 3 levels. So there's the primary review, where an individual sits down and look at an application, and so they can assign it to 3 people who individually review and score. Then also secondary reviewers do the same. Then the individual reviewer evaluation. So each reviewer, once they have been assigned the proposal, each reviewer will score the proposal independently based on 5 criteria: significance, innovation, approach, investigators, and the environment. And they will share their written critiques. So this is the feedback that they will give after they have reviewed your application. They give written critiques. Written critiques at this point is based on what they have seen in your application as strengths and weaknesses. Then number 5, the 5th stage is now a panel meeting discussion. So once the individual reviewers have done their part, then they will go to a panel discussion. So the panel discussion will review the application. They will also review the comments from the individual reviewers, and then they will give final scores. And proposals that have low preliminary scores will be triaged. To be triaged means they will be put aside at that point. They will not go to the next level. Then the next stages is summary statement issued, and also program review and funding decision is made. So the 6th stage is once after the panel meeting as discussed, they will now write a summary statement. So the summary statement is what you get as part of your as part of the main review that is done in the proposal. So you get a summary statement. In the summary statement, they list the reviewer comments, the priority score, final recommendations. And it is important to note that this is your resubmission strategy. This is a document that is very critical in guiding you in your resubmission strategy. At this point, even program officers at these donor institutions also use the feedback from the panel discussion. They use the summary scores for funding decisions, and they might consider other things when, like maybe their priorities or your geographical scope. There's just quite a number of things they will consider, but it will not be technical things. It will be things that they feel align with their funding priorities. So then at this point, maybe by the time you're getting the summary statement issued, then perhaps you have got a good score and you're proceeding to get funding, or and now the program officers comes and says, we will not fund all the 7,000 applications. We will fund only 6,000, and yours could be part of the 6,000. Yours could be one part of the 1,000. It's important to also look at what reviews do and don't tell you. What reviews can tell you: when you receive review feedback from the reviewers, there are things that you can quickly glean from the comments. Whether you can understand how the reviewers interpreted your proposal, you can understand your major, your grant application's major strengths and weaknesses. You can also see the perceived fit and feasibility. You can also see whether there are fatal flaws, if there is any, and you can also sense that they are giving you signals for improving the proposal, and that is, they give you that based on the comments that they give in during the reviews. But what the reviews will not tell you is everything that was wrong with your application. That will never happen. And you remember when we started, I indicated that the reviews are actually not comprehensive. So the fact that they're not comprehensive, the reviews you get will not tell you everything that is wrong with your application. Also, we said that reviewers are human. It will be very difficult to get reviewers agreeing on everything. You will also not see the true merit of your idea. It's not like they will award you 70 over 100 so that you see how does your idea, research idea, what is the merit of your research idea. Also, you will not get information on how close you are to getting funded, the review will not tell you that. And also, the review will not tell you whether to resubmit or start the application afresh. This is a decision that you make on your own. The common reviewer comments that are usually contained in the summary statement that I've spoken about is usually categorized into these different areas. Lack of significance, where they are saying the research seems incremental and does not significantly advance the field. They can also say that your proposal is unfocused. You remember when we were talking about unfocused and unclear objectives and aims, specific aims. So they will say your proposal is unfocused because the aims lack a clear and unified story. They will also tell you that your application is overambitious. You propose too much work for the time frame and for the budget. They will also tell you whether you need more preliminary data. We've talked about that. If you do not have preliminary data, what do you need? What are you supposed to do? We will see some of this in the next few slides. Then, if the investigator lacks expertise, what are you supposed to do? So that tells you require collaboration with someone who has the missing expertise. Here I have some comments that have come from applications that we've done at FHRC. So they are definitely just a replica of what I've discussed. So I'll skip this slide. You see, there's lack of preliminary. This is review and comments that have come from applications that we've done at FHRC. Some we were told lack of preliminary data, weak methodological design, insufficient innovation, missing key expertise and ethics and inclusivity concerns, weak justifications of setting. So these are some of the comments that we've received when we've done applications to NIH and other NIH institutes. Now, once you've received the comments from the reviewers and you have the comments, you have the summary statement, you will have to make a decision whether you want to resubmit or whether you want to reboot, or do the application afresh, or you want to just revise and resubmit. Remember when we talked about A1 submission, A1 is the resubmission, A0 was a new application. So A1, when do you decide to do a resubmission? So you do a resubmission when reviews show minor to moderate weaknesses, when concerns are clear and addressable, when funding opportunity is a good fit or is still a good fit. And we've also seen that resubmissions have higher success rate, and you will have the benefit of the reviewer feedback. Imagine when you are resubmitting, you already have the reviewer feedback that is now helping you to strengthen your application. Why not resubmit? We've seen resubmissions, you stand a chance of up to over 32% of getting funded. So resubmission is very, very critical. And when you get negative or reject feedback from the funder, you should not shelve that application. You should find a way to review it based on the comments or the reviewer concerns, and then resubmit it. A0, when do you decide to submit it as a new application once you've received, once it's been rejected? So if your resubmission was rejected and the opportunity allows reapplication as new, you should do that. Reviews are conflicting or unclear, making a clean slate more strategic, and you're aiming for different timing or funding cycle. This is why I was saying that you can wait for 1 or 2 years to resubmit, to submit the application as a new application, not as a resubmission. So at this point, it will be treated as a new application with new reviewers. So you'll even get new reviewers. But when you resubmit, there is a very, very high likelihood that your resubmitted application will be reviewed by the same people who made comments on it. in the first application. This is also a chance to now reframe the proposal without constraints of prior review. Sometimes you can decide that you will look for new funding mechanism or a new funder. You will realize that most of the time, once you've done an application, it's not gone through. You will need to take this application and look for another funder that can fund it, or resubmit to the same funder, but under a different funding mechanism. So this is also something that is very, very possible in the landscape of doing applications. So this definitely, you increase your chances by aligning with a better suited review panel or funding priorities. So when you get your rejection, when your grant application is rejected, what are the first steps that you need to take? First of all, you need to read and understand the reviews, the comments that are come from the reviewers. You need to read and understand what are they saying. Read between the lines. Understand as much as possible. If there is anything that you're doubting, look for your peers or other co-investigators and other researchers in your field to help you just go through it, to ensure that you understand all the comments that they have sent back. And you need to start with the summary statements, because it's usually the one that give you a top line of what you need to respond to. Remember, much as they give broader comments, the summary statement is where they summarize everything that you need to respond to. But this does not stop you from going into the application and making changes in different sections of the proposal. Then reread your proposal again. Based on the reviews, you need to look at your proposal again, reread it, and try to see if they're giving me this comment. Maybe they're saying you do not have, there's a missing expertise. Then you go to the investigators section or research team section, look at who did you have. But definitely in the reviews, they will tell you what expertise is missing. So you'll be thinking about, how can I get someone who can fill that gap? Then you need to assess your options. Is your application best as an A1, which is a resubmission? Is it best as A0, which is to a new application, or is it best for a new funding mechanism or even to a new donor? You have to assess all your options so that you work on something, one strategic thing as you respond. You also need to contact the program officer at the donor institution. You can ask for their opinion on the score and the reviewer comments, and even seek clarification if there is confusing feedback. You might get feedback on the summary statement that is really, you're not understanding it, and you're asking other people and they're also not understanding it. This is a chance for you to contact your program officer in the donor agency and ask them to clarify something that is confusing to you. You can also ask their insights on whether resubmission is advisable. So again, as you assess your options, whether to resubmit A1, you need to ask your program officer whether resubmission is advisable, or whether sometimes they will tell you wait and submit next year as a new application, or resubmit at this time when another similar funding window opens, or maybe there's still time to resubmit within the notice of funding opportunity. You can also ask them what the context on how close your application was to funding. This is something that a program officer can tell you. Remember, we said that you will not know, the review will not tell you how close your application was to funding. But if you talk to a program officer, they will tell you you were this close. And if you work on these comments and give attention to this area, you stand a higher chance to get funded. And this is also important because you're building a relationship with this program officer. The program officers can advise you on choosing between A1, A0, and a new mechanism. They can also advise you on reviewer dynamics and panel fit. sometimes the panel, as we had indicated, if there is a lack of panel fit, you may get bad reviews or bad score. So then they can also tell you about the timing and funding cycle of opportunities that may be relevant for your application. Then you need to go to the next stage of now improving. So now we are deep in the resubmission, and you've decided that you're improving the application, your proposal, and you're resubmitting it. So that is where we are. So you are now resubmitting. You've decided you're going to resubmit as A1. You need to, first of all, develop a resubmission plan. A resubmission plan, what I see most people do is, based on the comments that come from the summary statement, they develop a resubmission plan based on that, where they put on this side, they put the comments and what is required. On the right-hand side, they put a plan of how they will respond. If maybe it was a lack of preliminary data, they put a comment, lack of preliminary data, we will get preliminary data from maybe our partner, or we will do a rapid pilot study to help us get preliminary data, or maybe there's preliminary data that has come up between the time that the application was done and the time the resubmission is being done. Maybe there's new data that has come in. So you're able to put that. Also, you need to decide how and whether to address the critiques or the reviewer concerns. You need to decide how you will address them. And I was just alluding to that with my example of how to address when the comment is about lack of preliminary data. You need to think about what parts are you going to rewrite. A literature review, additional preliminary studies, and how you're going to be addressing the comments. You need to request peer feedback and revise again. Peer feedback is where you go to other co-investigators or other researchers, you request their feedback, ask them to review the comments against your proposal, and ask them for feedback on how you can be able to address some of those things. Remember, as you decide to resubmit your application, you have only 3 goals. Goal number 1 is that you need to address all reviewer concerns. So your main goal is to respond thoroughly. Make sure you respond thoroughly and deliver to the reviewers exactly what they are asking for. And what they are asking for is what is contained in the summary statement. So if they have said the missing expertise, make sure as you respond, you've addressed that concern. Say, how have you addressed that concern of missing expertise? Have you got a new researcher that will fill that gap? So your number 1 and most important goal is to address all reviewer concerns, however minor it is. The other goal is that you need to be more responsive and not be rebuttal and over being rebuttal. Remember, as we said, the reviewers are on the same side as you. They are not your opposition. So when you're resubmitting your application, you need to be more responsive over, there's a way you can respond to something in a way that you're attacking, or you're arguing, or you're defending, or being defensive. So you need to be responsive, focus on making improvements and not on arguing, and providing feedback on this is the feedback, this is the improvement I've made, this is why it is. Also, value reviewer input. Remember, at the time the reviewer is reviewing your application, they are your customer. And in the business field, they say customer is always right. So even in this case, the reviewer is right. There is no time that the reviewer will be wrong, especially if you want to be successful in your grant applications and submission and resubmissions. Treat the reviewer as your customer. Make sure that you give the customer what the customer wants so that you are successful. So those are the 3 goals that you need to always have in your mind. Then how do you address common reviewer critiques? Remember, we've looked at this, that commonly being given by reviewers, being research being incremental, research being unclear or unfocused, being overambitious in scope, lack of preliminary data, or missing expertise. So here are just a few tips of how you can be able to address this. If it is incremental research, if the comment is that this research is incremental and is not adding value to the field, you need to show, you need to emphasize the broad significance. So you need to go back to your significance section of your grant application and add more information or strengthen information that is there. You need to show why this research is unique and the impact that it will create. Clarify the novelty and impact of your approach. Also just position your work within the current literature and demonstrate the gap that this research will fill, and use strong justification in the significance section. That is one of the ways that you can be able to address the critique of research being incremental. If they say your research is unclear or has unfocused aims, you need to go back to the proposal and align your aims with your overall project goal. Ensure that your specific aims also line up with your hypothesis. Ensure that there is clarity in that relationship, and do all it takes to eliminate vagueness or redundant aims. If there are aims that they say are not, that aims that is integrated in another aim, then you need to integrate and remove redundant aims. If your applications is of ambitious in scope, in reviewing you need to be more realistic, and you need to focus on achievable objectives. Remember, achievable objectives with regards to budget and time. Those are the two issues that need to guide you very strongly. You can propose such that in their eyes is a 5-year research, but you're proposing that you'll do it in 3 years to check that. Then budget, proposing certain some work packages and when they're looking at the budget, they're not seeing everything that is needed to deliver on those work packages. They're not seeing the budget in the budget document, and therefore they will be wondering, how will you deliver on everything under this work package and all that. So also you need to break long-term goals into phased activities, but also emphasize feasibility and realistic milestones. If they say you lack preliminary data, you need to include preliminary findings. How do you include preliminary findings? First of all, you can strengthen the evidence, maybe even using existing and current literature. You can do a rapid assessment to get that preliminary data. You can also design short-term pilot or usability studies to generate preliminary data, but you can also use literature of partner data if your own is limited. So from time to time, you will realize that in your applications, you're partnering with another university, you're partnering with another research institution. If they have data that they have generated, you can actually include when you're responding to resubmit. Maybe you missed out and you did not include that data, and in your own institution you don't have it. Then you can ask your partners if they have that data or literature, then they can provide that. If they say that your application is missing expertise, then you need to add collaborators with complementary skills to address the knowledge gaps. You need to highlight the role of co-investigators, highlight what role will your mentors do or your advisors, but also most importantly, you need to include a capacity building plan. So usually you realize that when you're responding, now you're resubmitting your application. You've done everything, now you're resubmitting. You will be required to write a one-page introduction. So one-page introduction introduces the reviewers again to your document, your grant application. But most importantly, this one-page introduction needs to tell the reviewers, these are the comments that you gave me, these are the issues that you raised, these were your concerns, this is how I have addressed them. This is how I have addressed. So you need to capture all this information in this one-page document. And obviously you need to start by thanking the reviewers. So briefly express gratitude, acknowledge their efforts in reviewing your application and the insights that they've provided. This is usually just a sentence, one sentence. For example, you can say, we thank the reviewers for their thoughtful and constructive feedback, which has greatly strengthened our revised proposal. That is just a sentence. So this is really, really important. It's basically the first thing that you write in your one-page introduction. Nothing else should come. Yes?
5 more minutes, please.
Okay. So after thanking the reviewers, you need to summarize the changes. So you summarize the main critiques that they raised. You then also summarize what improvements that you've made, and then frame the changes that you've made as solutions and not as fixes. Then you need to go bullet by bullet based on the comments that they gave you. Sometimes these comments also come in the form of bullets. You also need to respond in that manner. Bullet 1, this is the issue, this is the way I've responded, and like that. Then you need to reference updated sections. Once you've addressed all the concerns, some in the proposal, definitely the issues that you've addressed are in the proposal. You need to show the reviewer that where you've addressed that thing. For example, if there was a question around methodology, then you need to say detailed rationale for methodology added under methods on page 7 to 8. Then you need to be responsive in your strategic resubmission. You need to respond to every reviewer comment, even the minor ones. You need to respond. Then you need to organize your responses in bullet points. I've said that. You need to support changes with evidence. If you've added preliminary data or literature, then you need to add all that information so that it is clear to them. You need to interpret the critiques beyond the surface. Sometimes you need to read between the lines to be able to understand the critiques that they have shared. You also need to communicate with a positive or collaborative tone, and you need to revise your application with a purpose. So don't just fix it, but improve the proposal in totality. Use the critiques that they gave you to clarify your science, strengthen your logic, and sharpen the objectives. Here are a few examples of when, for example, the critique is in. Let me go to this one. Investigator. Given the complexity of the proposed experiments, a statistical consultant might be helpful, so that more complex statistical analysis than those proposed could be performed. So this comes to you as a reviewer comment. Then how do you respond to it? So you can be able to see the response. A statistician, Dr. XY, has been added. Yes, then you say, what does the statistician add? So it's very, very critical to be able to respond to all the review comments. I'll pass these sections and just go take a quick run on the checklist as my time comes to an end. So before you submit, you need to carefully review the summary statement. Again, you need to review the summary statement, identify the major and minor critiques, and put them side by side and see how to respond to them. You need to discuss feedback with a mentor or a colleague. You need to talk to the program officer for clarity and advice. You need to revise your aims and scope for visibility. You need to gather or strengthen preliminary data. You need to address every critique clearly and constructively. You need to update your biosketches. If maybe time has passed, maybe it's 6 months, your biosketch, something might have changed in it. You need to update that, or even team roles if needed. Then you need to write a clear and focused one-page introduction that I've talked about. Also, it's important to proofread for clarity, structure, and reviewer navigation. Then final advice, I think being resilient is the most important thing. All the most successful researchers have received rejection so many times that they cannot count. So even as an early career researcher, you need to be resilient and know that this is your research life or career life, or what you will be dealing with, for the rest of your research career. Peer feedback sharpens your thinking. Sometimes you can even do mock reviews or writing groups. You need to track your revisions and lessons learned so that you create your own learning loop. It's important to learn from what you're doing. So it's important to document what lessons have you learned in an application process. Then you need to respond to every critique, even the minor ones, and that's the end of it. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.